Hi, I'm Laura.
Hey, I'm Stefan, and you're listening to Attributed, a podcast library by Dream Data.
The purpose of it is to store and share all the knowledge that we have gathered across Dream Data employees through our LinkedIn Lives, podcasts, and webinars.
The typical topics you'll find here can be stuff like marketing,
Sales,
B2B ads,
operations,
social selling maybe.
If a tree falls in the wood and no one sees it, did the tree even fall? This is an old psychology sentence we're going to explore today because we need to talk about content, but not just creating content, the actual discipline of getting that content in front of the right people. And to do that, I think we have one of the true masters of this discipline out there today, Ross Simmonds, joining us to walk through this topic. It's something I think has never been more important to think about if you're doing B2B marketing today, because AI is flooding the market, the feeds with more and more content. So how do you actually get noticed? How do you actually ensure the distribution of the content you put so much effort into actually reaching the right kind of people? And that's the masterclass we've promised the audience today, Ross.
I'm excited for it.
You can help me out exploring it.
Yeah.
But even though you do have a good following on LinkedIn, for those who've never heard about you before, maybe can you just give us a few minutes about your background and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is Ross Simmonds. I'm the founder of a company called Foundation Marketing. We work with a wide range of different companies, B2B brands, some that everybody here I'm sure loves and adores. We've helped organizations ranging from early stage startups all the way through to publicly traded companies scale and develop content marketing engines that drive results. So that entails the development of strategy, content creation, distribution, optimization, all of the key areas of marketing. We've supported that. I'm the author of a book called Create Once, Distribute Forever, which is a Amazon bestseller, and I definitely encourage everybody to check it out. In addition to that, I'm the founder of a company called Distribution.ai. So I eat, breathe, and sleep thinking about marketing and how brands can do this stuff on a regular basis. I do keynote speeches all the time, all over the globe, talking about marketing, helping organizations better develop full content engines to drive results. So super excited to be here. I've always had a great time chatting with you and the team, and I'm looking forward to being here today. So thanks, Dream Data, for bringing me on.
Thanks a lot, Ross. Maybe a soft way to warm up. Can you maybe share just some of the latest examples of requests of new clients coming into your business? What are people looking to do at the moment with content marketing?
Yeah, so content marketing has definitely gone through a moment, and right now it's going through one of the most pivotal that I've seen in quite some time. There's a lot of forces that are changing in the way that marketing needs to be done. One of those shifts is the rise of AI. So because AI is now at the fingertips of every creator, every marketer, every founder, every leader, there's been two things happening. On one end, we're seeing the rise of opportunity from a production lens, the rise of opportunity from an efficiency gains, productivity gains, and a lot of opportunity for people to do things at scale that they weren't able to do before. You can see organizations and businesses creating content in the matter of seconds, which once upon a time would have taken hours to do. You're seeing content get optimized using AI at a rate faster than ever before. With all of this great productivity gains also comes an increase in the level of stress that a lot of marketers have, because they're expected to do more with less, because now we all see that it is feasible to do more with less thanks to AI. So a lot of marketers are stressed. The job market is actually kind of showing, even with signals, that there's a bit of a cliff that has happened in digital marketing and content marketing jobs, where there's a lot of risk and uncertainty that is happening in the market. And with all of this, there becomes an opportunity for those who are currently looking for a long time to be in this industry and to be in this space, to really say, how can I elevate myself with AI? How can I use AI to become more efficient, to unlock new gains for the employer, for the organization that I work with, for my clients, for my customers, to really be more efficient? And more than ever before, because the entire industry is going through this, we're seeing more noise, more content being developed than ever before. And I'm sure your listeners have probably heard this idea of AI slop, which everybody is kind of talking about, which is the idea of just saying, hey, ChatGPT, write me a blog post of content about content distribution, and then Control C, Control V, they press publish on that piece. And that content is meh. It's not great. It's not ideal because it doesn't really have some of the things that actually makes up a great asset. So what does that mean to me as a marketer? What it should mean is that there is still opportunity. Yes, some companies won't see it. Some companies will lay off their entire marketing team this week and they will say everything can be done with AI and will be successful. But in reality, what needs to happen is the marketers, the best marketers, need to understand that our game in the world that we live in has changed and we have to adjust accordingly. How do you adjust? You adjust by stop thinking about marketing and content marketing in particular as being a creation game. It is not just about creating content. You have to create great content, content that stands out, content that is worth making a remark about, content that falls into the categories that I talk about in the book: educate, engage, entertain, and empower people. But then you can't just let that content collect dust. You now need to think of how you can use AI to be more efficient at repurposing, repackaging, and redistributing that content. Because now, more than ever before, the market is cloudy. The market is noisy. There's less reach on across multiple platforms. Like what you could reach on X today is not anywhere close to the amount of reach you could have had in B2B 2, 3 years ago. And marketers have to recognize that that's just the state of things. So, what do we have to do? We need to be willing and interested in finding ways to repurpose our content, distribute our content, get it in front of our customers, and have the conversations with leadership to say there is a need for budget to support this. And yes, it's okay that we're reducing some of our budget to find efficiencies and gains, but we need to have some budget to be able to distribute this content where our audience is spending time. So a long answer to a short question, but that's how I typically go.
Yeah, but you're a great talker, Ross, so I appreciate it. I think one of the things that we struggle with is to remain efficient and don't get kind of like I'm finding a hard time avoiding the word lazy when it
Right,
comes to
right.
distribution,
Yeah.
because it's kind of invest so much time in creating the content, and now the video snippets look great, so they get one run on LinkedIn, and then kind of they just go to the shadows on YouTube, and no one ever sees them again.
Right, right.
So I think like I would just wish kind of we could up our game in terms of this content distribution, and I think it's probably the whole narrative we have around it as well. Like we need to create more excitement about actually like recycling, because that's where we gain the efficiencies, because
Right.
all the investment goes into creating the content, but the value comes from actually making sure that people continuously see these high quality productions you've done. So how do teams wire themselves better to, and I can almost hear the answer myself already as I'm saying,
Yeah.
but
The answer sucks because it's really just a self-reflection on recognizing that like you're holding your own self back, right? Like at the end of the day, if you agree with the hypothesis and the belief that a single post might only reach 40, 50, 500 people, and that's not enough. That's not even the vast majority of your actual total addressable market or your even followers. Then there's just an internal conversation that you have to be able to say, folks, what we're doing is broken. We know that if we put press publish on Monday, we're going to reach 10% of our audience. But that same audience that we want to reach on Thursday might now be there. And if we post it again, we're going to increase that to 20%. So it's simply a math game, really. It's like, folks, you are creating great content. You need to be willing to repurpose and repackage that and share more frequently than you do. And I oftentimes run into this when I'm talking to companies and founders, and I oftentimes will hear people say, yeah, but we don't want to be that guy that's always putting out content all the time, every day, like 2 posts a day. That's way too much. Nobody knows. No one knows that you put up 2 posts a day, right? Like nobody knows. And nobody even cares in B2B. Like, let's also get that straight. As much as I love our industry and I love B2B and software, et cetera, no one cares. No one is actually sitting down, thinking and waiting to themselves, hey, I wonder if someone in B2B happened to put up, this company happened to share 2 pieces of content today. No one cares. No one
one's
cares.
going to say thank you to you for not posting today either.
Exactly. And the folks who, I don't think there is a way with even just 2 posts a day that the algorithm would reach the same audience so many times that they would feel the need to say, I'm going to unfollow you. And because of that, brands need to be more receptive to this idea that, folks, you need to create and distribute your content. The people who are online on Monday during the day are also not the same people who are online Monday in the evening. You won't see me scrolling through LinkedIn from 5 until probably 9:30 because I'm wired in with dad life. Like it's not happening. I'm not doing it. But if you want to reach me at 10, I might be online, right? So you have to recognize that your audience is also kind of like an onion, so to speak. And this is a Shrek reference for any other Shrek followers. But like we're all like we've got layers, folks. And with these layers, we have different times in which we're online. We have different times in which we're consuming content. So you as a brand, you as a marketer need to recognize that. And then you need to be committed to repurposing it. So the answer is self-reflective. You have to stop making excuses. Like you can't continue to make the excuse. And let me be very transparent here, folks. I get busy too. I sometimes will make the mistake of not having multiple posts go out in a single day, and you get caught up in that cycle. But that's also why I built distribution.ai, because I needed a solution that would help me repurpose my own content, to repurpose the stories that I'm telling so they can be shared. So we built this product which connects to my YouTube channel, it connects to my blog, it connects to my podcast, and it automatically for me takes my brand voice, which I've uploaded, and it will write LinkedIn posts in my voice and my story for me. And in the future, it's going to automatically manage all of that for me. So this is not just a challenge that you face. It's a problem that everyone faces. Like I've worked in so many different industries, so many niches, and people struggle with this time and time again.
Yeah, I'm thinking a couple of things. Is one that we definitely also need. One, we need if it needs to get done, it needs to be like a process that is defined somewhere, and somebody's like owning.
Somebody has to own it.
Yeah. And second thing is that we also need to find or be more creative about the avenues we recycle in, because ours is like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, gone. Next.
Right.
And like that's not the whole internet.
No. And your audience isn't just using those channels either, right? Like recently we've been using a tool called SparkToro more and more to get a better understanding of where our audiences are spending time. And we have one client who's in the cybersecurity space, and we found that a lot of their audience was spending time on GitHub. So it's like, okay, interesting, they're on GitHub, which kind of makes sense. So instead of just assuming that we should be on all of these other channels, we took in-depth resources that they were producing and recreated that as like GitHub oriented content that lived there. We can also use this tool to be able to see, okay, all right, what newsletters are they subscribing to? Okay, so they're subscribed to all of these newsletters. Maybe we need to have a partnership deal set up where we're syndicating our content through these newsletters and we're sponsoring the right ones. Or maybe we see what podcasts they're listening to, and we need to get the founders on these podcasts to talk about their products, et cetera. And in that podcast episode, and this is where the distribution comes in, folks, you talk about a recent asset that you've produced. You talk about how you just published a guide or a resource or some variation, and then people who listen to that podcast go and find it. So I want to go back to your comment about the system, because it is important that systems are the key, right? Like I've been on this big kick lately where it's process, not people. The process is what's broken, not the people. So I don't think that people are lazy. I think that people just need a process to be able to do the things that matter. And then they need to be held accountable to hitting those goals that they've associated themselves with and have said, okay, that works for me. So how do you make this happen? You make this happen by stating, all right, here's what our standard is and what we expect. We expect that every month we're going to have 2 posts shared on LinkedIn, or every day we want 2 posts shared on LinkedIn. One in the AM.
Chilled for what we're talking about here.
Right. Yeah. Like 2 in the morning, or 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. We're going to have 3 posts that are going to be shared on X every day. Those are going to be scheduled in advance. You're going to use a scheduling tool to make that happen. You're going to take the video content that we did in last week's webinar, and every single time that we have a webinar, we're going to share that twice in a native format with the video itself chopped up on LinkedIn. We're going to also share it on YouTube Shorts. We're going to also share it on TikTok, and we're also going to share it on Instagram Reels. Someone might say, but how am I going to create these captions? Like what should go into this? You can tap into AI now to do this faster. And you don't need to be perfect. Like this is the other thing. Everyone always wants to be perfect with your content. Sometimes you're going to have a hit. Sometimes you're going to have a flop. And that's okay. It's okay to have some flops, because if you're
the input, but you don't necessarily control the algorithmic output.
Exactly. You can't control that. So that's the way that I would think about it, is like you need to set up a benchmark on these are our thresholds and this is what we do. And then
I gotta ask just Ross, so you said both TikTok and you said Instagram Reels, and we're in a B2B marketing crowd here.
Yeah.
Is the value there?
So TikTok's showing up in the SERP. Instagram is showing up in the SERP. And for those who don't know what that means, it's search engine results page. So Google is now showcasing videos. There's a video tab directly in the top of Google, and it's showing, we're seeing from our data, YouTube is showing up 100%. Of course, that's like the number one most referred to site by Google because they own YouTube. But Facebook groups are showing up, Facebook pages are showing up, Instagram content showing up, even TikTok content is showing up. So it might be different depending on your industry, but what I like to recommend to brands is that you look for SERP domination in your industry and in your niche. So every single keyword and phrase that is associated with your brand and your business that is like really instrumental to your offering, you want to have some ability to show up in the SERP for that. And that's in the forums, which I'm talking about Reddit, we're talking about video, we're talking about all of that. And yes, your audience is on TikTok. This is the other thing that people are mistaken. And it goes back to that onion concept. Yes, your audience might be very professional, suit and tie on LinkedIn, but you know what? They're probably also on Instagram scrolling through to figure out whether or not they should wear this shirt or buy these shoes or this sneakers. What's the new like style? Where should they get their glasses from? And you might be thinking, but they're not in the B2B mindset at that time. You don't need to be. The brain doesn't work that way, folks. The brain is just the brain, and you're consuming content. So if I'm on Instagram and I'm looking at recipes and things that I can cook, and then I happen to see a video from Dream Data and it's interesting, now you have my attention, right? Yeah. That's the game, folks. Like we get so caught up in this idea that B2B people are only on B2B channels. Not even close. People are making decisions less so related to like the B2B review sites and more so connected to Reddit. People are going to Reddit today and they're going to ask, what is the best solution that I should use to be able to understand whether or not my ads are driving conversion? And you should show up. Like these are conversations that B2B marketers should show up for. But are they today? Not really. It doesn't really
supporting you, Ross. Ross doesn't need my
I love it.
But I see the same thing. 100% brands should be thinking about TikTok Reels and Shorts, especially long form YouTube.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The same way, like, I don't know how old everybody is, but for me, I'm a bit out there. When I first, like 10 years ago, I can remember going to YouTube. It was longer than 10. It was like 15, 18 years ago. I went to YouTube and I learned how to tie a tie. And that was like a huge unlock for me because my dad and my mom were away, and I was like, I can't go ask dad how to tie a tie. I got to go to YouTube. YouTube taught me how to tie a full Windsor. And I was like, great, this is amazing. The same way that I did that from a consumer lens back then, people today are doing B2B, like instructional content that is informing how they do things. So if I want to understand today how to set up a new campaign in this tool or that tool, I'm going to YouTube to teach me. And then I might hit that 2x button and just like go through that really quick because I'm a maniac who likes to listen to content on 2x speed. But like that's the approach that a lot of B2B buyers are taking. But again, we're still sleeping on the power of YouTube and the power of these video content assets. One of the things that we've been doing with a lot of our partners, especially in B2B, because we're always slow to the game, is we've been taking a lot of their content and optimizing the thumbnails, because B2B for some reason still doesn't understand that thumbnails matter. So we've been going through that process of improving their thumbnails, improving their the titles, the show notes, the descriptions to be optimized for YouTube in the way it should. Because most view YouTube as just
how much. So I know algorithms work a bit differently and people behave a bit differently on all these platforms.
Right.
How much platform specific customization do people need to do?
Right. So the differences with across the platforms is real. So when I'm on TikTok, what I'm expecting is very different from the type of content that you find on YouTube. So on YouTube, you're typically in a search experience. So you're trying to find something. On TikTok, you're in a discovery experience. So you're looking to be entertained. You're looking for the algorithm to know you enough to like serve up content that you want. So if you're thinking about your content on TikTok, it needs to punch people in the face in the first like 3 seconds. You need that type of content. But when you're on YouTube in particular, you can have content that really is more slow. Like it's educational. I've intentionally committed to watching this content and I want to be taken on a journey. That's why like keynotes work well on YouTube. Podcasts, long form work well. TikTok wants the like you need to hit people in the face really quickly.
Yeah.
Instagram Reels is kind of a similar model as TikTok, but I would say like you have a little bit more leeway with the education because people are using search to find things that are relevant to them as well.
You must get this a lot from your clients then, like, I completely agree with you. But how do we execute on this? Because that seems like a lot of work having to deliver on
Yeah.
all these like modifications depending on where you are.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but it really comes down to structuring and building a team to execute it. So some organizations will look at it and they will say, okay, we're going to build this in-house and we're going to run it through our team. And in that case, you're just hiring people to own certain channels. So someone could own video and that's like the medium itself. And your video lead is going to oversee that and they're going to really support the ongoing development of video assets. However, with some clients, they want to outsource it entirely. And then we go out and we source a bunch of video creators and people who create the videos on their behalf,
Yeah.
UGC style. They're developing that content, they learn their products. They're creating talking head videos, instructing people on how to do this, that, and the other thing. They're creating that content on their behalf. We're managing the upload and the like optimization piece. So our team takes on that like extended marketing team support engine for them. Some teams are scrappy though, right? Like some teams are early stage. And my dad always had this one simple piece of advice that I would give everyone. And that is it's better to have one good kid than two bad. And when it comes to distribution, it's the same thing. I don't want anyone here today to listen to this and be like, we need to be on Reddit. We need to be on Facebook. We need to be on TikTok. We need to be on Instagram. We need to be on Reddit. We need to be on YouTube. We need to be blogging. We have newsletters. We need podcasts. We need all these things when they have no good content even to start with. Like you first need to understand the fundamentals, folks. Like you first need the bare basics of we get content. Cool. You get that first, then let's be great on a channel and let's milk that channel for what it's worth. And then let's keep moving and start expanding. So my big takeaway that I don't want people to take is like, folks, don't go nuts over here and start saying we're going to be on all the channels. Start by saying we understand as an organization what good content looks like. We have a strong content culture. We understand what our customers want. We know where our customers are spending time and we know what stories will resonate with them. When you have that, then let's apply that understanding to LinkedIn. Let's be great on LinkedIn. Let's create content that resonates, that turns head, that moves the needle. And then after you have content market fit on LinkedIn, you start to diversify and you go to X, maybe, or you go to Blue Sky or Mastodon or Instagram, whatever is inside of your circle of genius. That's the other thing, folks. Not everyone is good for video. Not everyone can talk in front of a camera. Not everyone is good at writing. That's okay. Do what you are great at and then pick the channels connected to your greatness, or find a partner who you can outsource efforts to support you because they've already done the work to be an expert in that field. So that is another key part. It's like, don't go do everything, folks. Be great here, be really good at the next channel. Then if you need additional wings and it's outside of your circle of genius, bring in support and bring in help. That becomes the playbook.
I was just running some ROI math inside my brain while you were talking, thinking about if we just put one person on this content distribution task, the eyeballs, impression, clicks that would generate, as opposed to if we were to go out and buy this from ads.
Yeah.
Like that could pretty quickly pay for itself if we actually spent the time seeding it into Quora, to Reddit, to wherever we can recycle the content, as opposed to just buying another LinkedIn ad.
Yep. Every single time. And I think that's what a lot of people need to wrap their head around. Like you need to see that ROI possibility that can come out of distribution. It's not just a game of, oh, we're doing this for the sake of doing it. We're doing this for business impact. We're doing this for results. So if you can say, all right, we're going to put someone on organic distribution consistently. This is their job. And they are taking every asset that your team produces, that your sales enablement team is producing, and they're purposing that all the time. This leads to more impressions, more leads, more conversations. You're going to see a faster contact to close because the audience is now seeing your content more. They've seen your case studies. They've seen
Yeah.
more touch points. But many organizations are yet to think about that. But if we were to go back into time, I want to reiterate this one more time. Like, if we were to go back into time to the Mad Men era, this was considered obvious to people. Like, distribution was at the heart of advertising for many years. But for some reason, we've over-indexed so heavily on this create, write, record, that we've forgotten that content marketing is a two-word industry.
Yeah.
It's not just content, folks. You have to market the content that you have created. But
So,
we've fallen into this trap of content, instead of marketing the assets that we're producing. I will see a company spend $60K on a research paper with some of those top big consulting firms and develop ridiculous great content.
yeah.
But then they'll tweet about it once, they'll
Yeah.
share it on LinkedIn twice, and then they'll wonder why they're not getting ROI.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Blows my
Let's maybe just like double down
but
on
it's a problem.
what does what was it you call it? Like, what is the SOP for like standard operating procedures for content distribution? I guess it probably starts with you just writing down a list of when we have released a blog post, you go and put it on LinkedIn.
Yep.
You then put it on YouTube.
Yep.
You then put it like what should be on that list, Ross, for people thinking about this?
Yeah. So let's use a podcast in an interview style podcast as
Our
the example.
conversation, for example.
Yeah, our conversation. Okay, so here's what happens next. We have this conversation, and ideally it's been streamed and people have consumed it. Great. We've hit a certain sample size, right? But now we have a video asset that we can use. And over the course of this conversation, you've asked me probably 10 questions. Each of those questions that you've asked me are 10 different videos. So those are now 10 different clips. Now, over the course of a month, there's more than 10 days. So you can spread those 10 days as clips that are going to go live on LinkedIn. Over the course of 30 days, you have one post every other day now with that clip and a link to a landing page that ideally will reference the entire webinar, the entire masterclass that people can watch at their own leisure. Now, if they want to get access to that, maybe they have to submit their first name, last name form and email. Cool. That's okay. If they found value in it, they'll be willing to submit that. You're also going to be sending out an email to your list, letting them know that this has happened and that they've subscribed. Now, typically, when you look at your click-through rates and your open rates, you'll notice that not 100% of people will open that. So instead of just sending it once, you're also going to send it to the people who didn't open it. The people who didn't open the email are going to get resent that same email with a new subject line promoting this episode in this series. So they're going to get that in the same week. And then you're going to see more people open it, right? Then you fast forward a week or two, you have a new guest on. In the PS section of your email, you're going to say, PS, did you happen to catch the episode that we did with Ross Simmonds a few weeks ago? This is something that you might want to check out. So now you've gotten multiple touch points via email directly. If you have a sales team, you're going to send it to your sales team, ask them to make sure that they're nurturing any lead that has been thinking about this and it might be a good touch point for them. That's an easy script that you can write for them, tell them to use it as a nurture. Now, let's go back to the repurposing of the asset. We have 10 videos that we've produced. They're going out on LinkedIn. Great. You can also take those same videos and reshare them on Instagram as Reels. You can share those same videos as posts on X. You can take those same videos and share them on Threads, on Facebook, on all of those different channels. And again, you now have more touch points with your audience across all of these different platforms. What's also opportunity is if you write a blog post that breaks down this checklist, the thing that I'm talking about right now, and you just took the transcript, you take the transcript at this moment and you upload that to ChatGPT and you say, ChatGPT, create a checklist that breaks down what Ross talked about at the 30-minute point within this webinar and create a little asset for me. You then write that into a blog post, you describe it, you articulate it, you embed this clip at the top, and then you submit that to Reddit under the R marketing or R big SEO subreddit, whatever. Hey, we just had Ross Simmonds on our podcast and he shared 20, 30 distribution techniques that you should check out. I've listed them below, but you can also check out more on our blog post, because Redditors don't just want a link. They also want you to add value directly in the feed. People can click that, then they see your content. You've now distributed it to Reddit, which is the second most popular website in the US right now, which is wild just to think about. Then you could say, I'm done. But you shouldn't be, because there's still more opportunity. You can now take this entire clip as well and upload the audio to a podcast. So it becomes a podcast that you have now created, and you're going out to your podcast listeners with the exact same thing. On Spotify, they allow you to upload a video. So you upload the video version to Spotify and people can consume that. You also upload the video version 1 month later, not right away, 1 month later to YouTube, but you are going to use YouTube's like pre-launch of it. So there's a countdown that shows when it's going to go live, so people can see that on YouTube. You're not just going to press publish on YouTube though and call it quits. There's a share functionality in YouTube that will allow you to repost that content directly to your YouTube feed. So you're going to amplify and promote it like that as well. Once all of those things are done, you could say, I'm done. This is great. We're wrapped. Or you can say, maybe I should reach out to a few of my friends who have a newsletter and tell them that they should plug this. And maybe I should offer them a couple dollars if they're interested for a sponsorship, so they can feature this in their newsletter for the next few weeks. Or maybe you could go on your next podcast and talk about it as well, feature it in your own newsletter and distribute it like that. Those are all things that are feasible if you embrace the idea of
creating. You could then on top of that have a list of like 10, 20, 30 communities on the internet, Slack channels, Facebook groups, etc., where you do the same process.
Exactly.
Man, Ross, people should buy their book just for that long string of really good inspiration. Thank you so much for that. That's super solid.
No worries, no worries. I definitely think like that's it's overwhelming for a lot of folks when they hear that, and I get it. Yeah. I get that it can be overwhelming, which is why I encourage folks to really start where you can be great and then start to scale it out from there and create the systems to allow you to do it. But also, if you're in a leadership position, ask yourself if it's possible to really create that role where this is something that they own and that they focus on. And if that's not feasible, because we all know the headcount is difficult right now to bring on, ask yourself two questions. One, is there a software like distribution.ai, shameless plug, that you can use to make your team more efficient to do this? Or do you need to bring in expertise and a partner to scale that content distribution engine for you? And that's also a play. But yeah, at the end of the day, definitely encourage folks to check out the book. I break down a lot of this in more details. And I'm glad that you mentioned the groups and going into Slack and those different communities, because that idea and that tactic, like, it gets a lot of slack from people because it's hard. It is hard to do that authentically, but the ROI can be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Ross, I feel like somebody soon needs to do like a big rant on AI content or mediocre AI content, because like people are killing the LinkedIn feed, the Facebook feed with at best mediocre content.
Yeah.
And if there's something that the world doesn't need is more mediocre content. And we just see more and more and more and more and more of it.
Yeah,
so,
it's
like,
true.
My inbox is filled with poor AI generated outreach. Websites are filled with M-dash text. You can just spot it's AI. The feed is so filled with AI. Like, how do we get people out of that mediocre approach to AI, and how do we get people to actually utilize AI to actually produce content that is beyond what you with your own copywriting skills? I think there's an arbitrage period right now for people who's able to utilize AI to be productive, but not just productive, at a very high quality level.
Yeah.
Where are the competitive edges right now for you on this?
Yeah. There's only one competitive edge. The cat's out of the bag. AI is never going back. We're going to see internet slop for the rest of our life. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
I wish I could tell you that it's going to change. It's not. We're going to continue to see bad content for the rest of our lives. But here's the opportunity. The reality is, if you give AI to a great storyteller, they can tell great stories faster. If you give AI to a mediocre writer, they can create mediocre content faster. If you give it to a bad writer, they're going to continue to create bad content faster. So the arbitrage opportunity is to take a step back out of the AI and say, what skills do I need to become great? What don't I understand about storytelling? What don't I understand about messaging, about the psychology of humans and what stories resonate with them? What don't I understand about creativity? What is my gaps? Where are my human gaps. And a lot of people think that AI can help them do it. I had a very fascinating conversation a few weeks ago with two friends. One is a music producer who's built he's got like the platinum awards for all of the songs, all of the Grammys. He's one of those guys. And I was asking him about AI. And he was saying that he's using it. He's using AI to support him in creating beats and stuff. And I was like, oh, I have too. I've been using this tool called Soda. Check it out. And I gave him one of my songs. He was like, oh, that's cute. That's cool. Let me show you what I'm doing. And the level of knowledge to understand the nuances of music in a way that I don't even comprehend. Like he was using words that I would never use in a prompt because I'm not an expert. He was talking about decibels and dBA, all this stuff that I had no understanding of. Because of his level of expertise, he can do more with AI than I will ever be able to do unless I went and got a degree in mass music or some variation. Yeah. And the same gap and the arbitrage opportunities for marketers. The best marketers, the people who actually understand their customers, understand copywriting, storytelling, messaging, writing, hooks, the story arc, all of those things win. They win because they can tell stories better. And when you combine that with a skill set like video production, combine that with the ability to understand how to like communicate verbally, you become unstoppable because you're going to bring talents and skills that the average marketer just doesn't have. The same with SEO. If you have deeper understanding of SEO, you can get these AI tools to do better. If you have a deep understanding of PPC, you can use AI to do more better. The key arbitrage opportunity is still the same as it was before, except to your point earlier today about laziness. There's more laziness. So it's a big opportunity. People are lazier because they think they can be great with AI when they're still mediocre, but their content's meh. It's meh.
Yeah.
So great. Be great. Go be great. Work on the things that would have made you great even before AI, and you will still come out better than everybody else.
Wonderful. How much do you utilize the ability to what do you call it, pre-train or give context to the GPTs, the Geminis?
Yeah,
tons. You write
a lot. It's all about the prompt. The prompt is the most important thing, being able to craft a great prompt, provide that insight, provide background, provide detail, but also being able to provide it with the thinking of this is where I want you to go. This is how I want you to think about this. Not just saying, hey, I want you to think like a content marketer, but be specific in saying the frameworks and the ways in which this content marketer should think. What are the fundamental beliefs and principles that you have in this seat? And that's where it gets special. It gets special because if I have a unique point of view and I can download my unique point of view to the AI, you can't do that because you don't have the same unique perspective that I have on a certain topic. The same way, if I have unique data, if I have unique perspective and beliefs or frameworks or creative thinking around an opportunity or a message, no one else can replicate that. So I can use AI to augment my creativity and my unique perspective and life experience, but I am not allowing the AI to replace that. And that is the key. You need to tap into your own perspective, bring that in your prompts, and then you start to see some magic happen.
But what I get from what you're saying here is like, I've burnt my fingers on Reddit so many times. Hey guys, read my article. Fuck off.
Yeah. Right.
I guess you could make a document that actually like tells the AI what is the correct way of communicating on Reddit. So like once we cycle this conversation, we have a prompt that is ready to actually translate whatever the blog post is going to call into a post on Reddit that would resonate and not get you completely burned when you post it on Reddit.
Exactly. And that's like that's the playbook, right? So like I'll give you an example. So I've been spending time more and more over the last few months trying to build out what I'm going to invest in the upcoming year, which is video content. And in that investment, I need to understand hooks, storytelling, etc. So I went out and I scraped and downloaded some of the top marketing videos on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., and downloaded their entire transcript. Hundreds of thousands of transcripts of the ones that have over a certain threshold of engagement, comments, etc. I take all of that data and I upload it to the LLM and I say, what are some of the trends and the things that you were picking up from this? What are those insights that you pull? it articulates it back to me. I now can create a document that outlines that this is best practice. So I now can upload my new hypothesis on these are what goes into great content. Write for me a script based off of the knowledge base that I've just developed. And by doing that, you now are going to consistently guarantee that the message and the story that you get back is going to follow the formula that you've articulated to the AI. So that's one layer of how you can do it in just one specific niche. Now apply that to every other asset that you can create.
I'm sitting thinking like, Ross, tell us how those videos work.
Well, let's see if they work.
Company secret.
Yeah, over the next few months, you folks will see more and more videos from me, and if it works, you'll see it in the results.
Yeah, and why video, Ross? Maybe just a few words on that.
Yeah, so the reason why is amidst the rise of AI, which I love. I wouldn't have started distribution.ai if I wasn't a fan of AI. I think it's a great solution. People still want to connect with people. And one of the most valuable ways to connect with people is face-to-face. But we can't always do that. Like we can't always do in-person flesh face-to-face. But video is a very close second. When you think of some of the most influential creators, when you think of some of the most influential people, you can see their face. And as much as I've built my entire career on the back of like the written word and things like that, I have come to acknowledge and realize that people want to see the people. And that's why I'm making the bet on video, because I see where things are going. More and more people want to connect with people because it's hard now than ever before to know if it was actually a human who wrote those words that I'm reading. Every day I get emails from people and I'm like, you didn't write that. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I'm okay with it. I'm not mad at you, but I know you didn't write that. And I think with that comes a necessity for a lot of brands and businesses, especially in B2B, where it's like a human transaction between a decision maker and the buyer oftentimes, is you want to create stories with video because it can go further and it feels more human.
I spoke with Chris Walker at some point, and he said also he transitioned from text to video because like people were just copying his post left and right and just like recycling it, and then now they had the same content.
Right.
It's not that easy with video. It's so much harder to be good on video. So that creates a moat for you that people can't just come and steal it, because it's so much harder to nail verbal, visuals, lightings, sound, everything.
It's true. So true. Yeah, that's a great call out. I think at the end of the day, video is also very difficult to steal. Like you can't copy and paste. Like if you go to LinkedIn right now and you type in create once, distribute forever, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people who are putting up posts saying create once, distribute forever, pretending that they came up with this concept. But if you have video content, it's way more difficult to steal and use that. So I love that approach. It definitely makes sense.
And I think we need to take this for granted. I'm not the only one that remembers that Ross eating popcorn gif.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when I do this a lot. I have a bunch of GIFs that I've created, or GIFs, depending on who you are. I'm a GIF guy. But essentially, I created a bunch of GIFs of me doing things that were like reaction memes that a lot of people would share. One of them was me when I had no facial hair, no hair on the top, and I'm just eating some popcorn. I had other ones where I'm like drinking water and I'm like, ooh, sipping tea, like the Kermit meme back in the day. And the reason is simple. I wanted to be able to like relate to folks and show people that, one, I'm human, because on the internet, oftentimes people will get into this like thought leadership world and they're like, oh, Ross is untouchable. No, I'm just a human too, just like everybody else. And I think it was fun. It was fun. I'm going to do more gifts to come. So I look different now.
Ross, I don't know if you want to spill the beans, but are there anything where you see kind of cutting edge right now, or where you see like really good return on activities? It can be small hacks, platforms.
Yeah, I'll give you one. Let me give you one. And this is
don't tell anybody else than me then.
Exactly. So everyone's sleeping on Reddit. And I know I've been preaching Reddit is this and that and the other thing. And organic social on Reddit is booming. Content marketing on Reddit booming. All of those things are true. But here's the thing that I think every B2B brand should do, and it's low cost, low opportunity, a high opportunity. Install the Reddit pixel on your website. Install the Reddit pixel on your website to run remarketing against anyone who is actually visiting documentation pages if you're technical, because your technical audience is on Reddit. So stop pretending that they're not. They're there. They're using Reddit on a day-to-day basis. So you run remarketing ads against documentation if you're in the technical lane. You run remarketing ads against your pricing and bottom of funnel pages if you have case studies, etc. And you stop pretending that that type of a cost per click, which is going to be lower than everything you're going to see everywhere else, doesn't matter. Your audience is using Reddit, folks. They might be landing there through Google, but they're there. So by running remarketing ads, you can limit your fear because you're only going to reach the people who are visiting your site. Low hanging fruit. Massive, massive opportunity. It is the number 2 most visited website from organic traffic in the US. Why are we sleeping on this giant? It makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm thrilled to have partners who have trusted us to set this stuff up, and we're running these ads and seeing great results for them. But folks, there's your free advice for the week. Remarketing, pixels, Reddit, ads, low risk, huge opportunity. Stop sleeping on it.
Boom. Super nice. Can you maybe just give us 2 minutes on what works on Reddit then? Because I failed so many times. I know you'll do better than me there at least.
Yeah. So if you want Reddit to work, you have to treat it like a Redditor. You can't go into Reddit and wear the corporate suit and be like, I'm exclusively here to get traffic and to get visits to my site. You have to go on Reddit with the intention of adding ridiculous amounts of value every single day. You're not going into our entrepreneur and talking about your product every day. You're helping other entrepreneurs solve problems. And then when they click your profile, you happen to have a link to your website. You happen to have a subreddit that you're the mod of, which is your business. And then they click on that and they subscribe to your sub. Or maybe you're adding value by saying, we create really good content and our data is beautiful. So we're going to go to our data is beautiful, the subreddit, and we're going to submit this content because we know it's going to add value to the community. But we're not going to be like shameless plug. Hey, like you don't go in with the intention of extracting value from Reddit. You go in with the intention of adding value, and then karma, which is a thing on Reddit, 2 ways. 1, you get it, and 2, you get points, which are karma. Karma comes back to you. I have a post from Reddit that I probably created 10 years ago, where I talk about like my journey to scale and create my freelance business at the time. Now, fast forward, it's a foundation and it's a much bigger brand. But that individual post still today leads to probably 2 leads a year where we're getting people who want to talk. And I think folks sleep on the possibility of this channel as a long-term investment. And yeah, like if you want value out of it, just go in. Like my advice to people would be the next 2 posts that you put up in Reddit shouldn't be about your business. Mm-hmm. They should be helping somebody who's asking a question. Yeah. If someone's asking a question like, hey, what's everyone using for their graphic ad designs or graphic design for ads? Just start talking about Canva, Photoshop. You talk about the tools that you're using, how you're doing it at scale, and you don't make it about you. And then what you'll notice is you're adding value to this community of PPC, of people who are data engineers, whatever it might be. And there's value that is starting to come back to your brand because your username should also be connected back to your business. So if you look at the folks over at Sonos, they do this very well, where it's like Keith from Sonos. So every time someone's talking about Sonos, Keith from Sonos shows up and the brand recognition is starting to play, right? And that's the strategy and that's the approach that more brands need to take on Reddit.
Super smart. And then there's this X factor now of the LLMs training on top of Reddit as well.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I know some people hate it, but I love it because I've been early with it. But like the LLMs are trained on Reddit. We did this analysis months ago, and we found that Reddit was becoming a #1 source over and over again on ChatGPT. And I seen this, I was at SEO Week a few weeks ago in New York, and the group over at Profound, they did this analysis of perplexity. And what they found was that Reddit was the #1 source for queries associated with any question in perplexity. Folks, the sentiment of your brand on Reddit is influencing decisions that people are making using LLMs. Yeah. So if I'm going to an LLM, and I know that I'm probably considered the early adopter, but I talk to my LLMs all the time. I'm always having a conversation. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. What should I use? And then the LLM goes and it scrapes Reddit, looks for the top reviews, and then it understands the sentiment around it, and it gives it back to me. People are doing that with your business. So how do you show up there? You need to be present. You need to be active. You need to be engaged in the community, and you can incentivize it with your team. You can make an incentive to your team to actually like, hey folks, we want to be active on Reddit the same way you're active on LinkedIn. This is an opportunity for us and you as well. You can incentivize it and make that a thing. Or you can actually like go out and create a Reddit strategy and you start to encourage your customers. Here's another free piece of advice. I'm throwing all the ideas out, but let me give you this one more. Review, this is an important one. And if you're in B2B, this is one that you cannot ignore. We've done an analysis for the last 2 years of looking at all of the review sites that all of us have paid money to be listed on. And time again, over the last few months, those review sites have all dipped in terms of the organic traffic that they are receiving from Google. But you know what's on the rise? Reddit. We, however, as marketers in B2B, continue to tell people that we want you to leave us a review on G2, on Capterra, on Trust Radius, all these sites, when we're not asking them to leave us a review on Reddit. What are we doing? There's probably a thread out there that says, what do you think of Dream Data? What do you think of Salesforce, HubSpot, any of these brands? But instead of telling people to go to that actual Reddit and leave a review, we're asking people after they are happy with us to go to these other sites that nobody actually trusts anymore.
That's funny.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? So there's your free tip. Someone.
Fantastic, Ross. This has been completely incredible. And I think I've taken so much value away from this. So thank you so much for spending the time.
Thanks. We could have did this for another hour, but I hope folks got a lot
You
of
did
value
do some blogs under the way, but if people do want to continue to listen and talk with you, Ross, what is the right path to take?
So I have a podcast called Create Like the Greats. People can subscribe to that. Check it out. I'm always there. But also, if you're interested in learning more about me, I'm on all the platforms. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Find me on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. And yeah, thank you for having me on. Definitely check out the book if you want more on distribution. Check out distribution.ai. All the call to actions, folks. I would love to connect. I love seeing folks do great work, and shout out to you, the entire Dream Data team. I love what you folks have done for the industry over the last few years and continue to do. Can't wait to see your next billboard as well in New York. So
it's coming up in 2 weeks or something like that. So let's see. I'm going to try one thing now before we end that I got from Morgan Ingram last week.
Cool.
Here's a QR code where you can go and subscribe to this podcast. So take out your phone, take a photo of that QR code, head to either Spotify or Apple and subscribe to the podcast. And I hope to see a spike after this session is done. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And Ross, thank you so much for spending the time with us. You can count on us trying to redistribute this and trying to piggyback on your network when we give you all the great video snippets.
I love it. Excited. Thank you so much for having me. See you on the internet.
We hope you like listening to us. Subscribe to our podcast and the ones that we have been guests on.
And if you have any feedback for us, just do let us know. And should there be a guest that you think we should be talking to, then pitch us.
We're looking forward to seeing you.